most of us, when we were toddlers, we would have picked some crayons or color pencils and we would have scribbled on the walls of our parents' places or, on the floor and all over the place. But somewhere down the line, we stopped doing that. We stopped playing with colors. But artists are the ones who carry that child with them throughout their lives. They play with colors. And today in our studio, we have one amazing, amazing artist who plays with colors like a child, just like I told you before. Here we have Nupur Jha. Hi, Nupur.
Good morning, Vino. Such a lovely intro. And thank you so much for having me in your studio.
Isn't it true? Everyone, works with pencils and colors, and somewhere we stop. But what made you, play with colors throughout your life? I want to know about your life.
Sure. That's such a lovely, vibe, a question to start with. I think I have not completed my childhood yet, and I'm still living as a child. And I'm glad I could do that, honestly, because a lot of people whom I ask are still struggling to come out of the comfort and to take responsibilities as we all have to with the various stages of life. But to be able to express, as I believe in, is the most intrinsic need of a human being, to be able to express everything, your various emotions, your anger, your joy, your the most inner needs. And art is one form that I am so happy that it happened in my life, and I'm able to, depict what you just said. And if I'm able to let 10 more people to come out of their shackles and to be able to express, I think that's it. I'm very, very happy of what I'm able to give back to the society.
And when did you start your journey with art?
I thought I always was an artist. Even when I was studying my master's, I was doing my master's and I got into a regular corporate job in 2004. And for the last 20 years, I've been working in various industries in India and South Africa, then now in Dubai for the last 10 years. Never, ever did I ever plan to be an artist. No one plans to be an artist. That's the most organic thing that happens. You plan to be an engineer, you plan to be a doctor, you plan to be a lawyer, anything, you have to acquire X number of degrees and all. But the most beautiful thing about being an artist, it's such an organic, such a natural thing. You can be a self-taught and not be taught at all and practice art. So for last 10 years, since 2014 is when I really got into the art practice. And I'm myself surprised. 10 years that I've been doing art, each time it feels like, what the heck is happening with me? Like, it's such a beautiful feeling each moment. I'm yet to have, a conversation with me and start calling myself as an artist. I still feel uncomfortable calling myself as an artist. What it is to become an artist, I don't know. Because for me, each day is like a beautiful morning when I introduce myself to myself through my paint, through my colors, through whatever I do with my canvas.
But corporate job before this, as in what kind of job were you in? Was it somewhere related to anything related to art, or, what kind of job was that?
Nothing at all to do with art. It was purely a number-driven role that I have done for last 20 years. In fact, I've just quit my job. And I was the data governance, very, very black and white kind of a person, where for me, I was paranoid if numbers would not match to the decimal places. And that's the beautiful thing. Look at the paradox of life, where there is a number, and number which means it's a pure black and white number. A 3.4 is a 3.4, and there is no other meaning to that number. That person talking about colors, where red may not be the same red as for you, and my red can be very, very different. There is there's a lot of component to a color, but this is a different world to me. Now, that's the thing that I discover myself each day. Like, how was the same person able to do that for 20 years and being able to transition into art?
How?
I don't know, I'm honest, I have no clue how is this happening. And was I always made to be an artist? And for the last 20 years, then why was I doing what I was doing? And what is inside this? I don't know. Do I have numbers? Do I have colors? You know why I'm getting into this is because I believe there will be an overlap somewhere. That's where I'm kind of curious about. Where does the number and the color finally mingle with, and how does it look like? I want to see that because I would like to believe that as a banker, as a person who was dealing with numbers, with the strategy, with the cost, and all of that, I did that responsibly and quite well. And the other side is the art. And I believe what I'm doing is pretty much decent. How did both stay with one person, and how does a mind look like? It's a curiosity that I'm living with each day.
Amazing, because I, recently wrote a post on LinkedIn talking about my problems with Adobe and Microsoft. Like how I struggle to deal with Excel and numbers, how I am so conveniently handling the colors, because the actual numbers and Pantone numbers are very different. Right? Both are numbers, but both are very different. So I have written about that, and I was thinking that these are two different people whose traits are very different. But look at you. I mean, I think the universe has put in front of you just to understand that both can be together in one single person.
Well, yes, I will say that that has happened, but how has that happened? And how does it look like in future to me, and more about dissecting myself with each canvas that I create. I want to know that even deeper.
When did you start exploring colors and canvas after your banking career? When was the first time you ventured into it?
This was in 2014, when I was between the jobs. In fact, we were transitioning. We were moving from India and moving to South Africa. That's the first time I picked up a canvas in 2014 June, if I clearly remember. And at a stretch, I went around producing some 10 canvases. And in South Africa, then there was a beautiful auction going on, and I did not really know that there is a life cycle of an artist, which is one, to produce, two, to exhibit, to showcase, three, it is even sold and it is taken by somebody to the house, and it becomes a privilege for them to take your art piece. Now, I wasn't even aware of this life cycle as an artist. I just started painting, just as a creative process of enjoying with colors. Now, when that happened, I was taken, I was in a state of awe, like, wow, this is interesting. Like, there is somebody who's taking your piece of art or taking a piece of your energy. And then the whole idea of connecting with the universe, which I think was always my need to come out of where I was born, to come out of who I am, to come out of who I was identified as a person. And then, if I can say, art is becoming one of the mediums, the channel where I'm able to connect. The very reason I'm sitting with you right now is not as a banker, not as a person who used to deal with numbers, but purely because I'm sitting with you as an artist. You identified me as an artist, and I think that's what it means to me right now.
Every creation starts from an inspiration, right? And where does yours start from? Because sometimes a technique may lead to an art piece. Like you may want to explore a technique, and then you kind of explore it, and then it becomes an art piece, or a literature or a poem that really struck you hard. You want to create something out of it, or an anger, or any emotion, or you traveling somewhere, seeing something might inspire you to create a piece of art. Where does yours start?
My inspiration, I'll pick up one of the words you said, like the emotions. My emotions inside. How am I feeling at that point of time? That itself is a lot. Our inspirations are always inside. We might look around and we might think that it's all coming from inside, but where is it going? It's all inside, right? It's your vision. Yes, you're capturing that, but then it is all inside. You see what you want to be inspired with. What Rumi says, what you're seeking is seeking you. So everything is sitting inside. We have stopped going inside. We have stopped internalizing our feelings. The moment you do that, you feel that the entire big, larger world is sitting inside. I think I get inspired a lot with my emotions. If I'm being drained, okay, then I immediately draw myself to my studio, and then that's it. I'm done. Like 10 minutes of the play and my movement, of my action, my kinetic energy is out. I'm done. So that itself is a huge inspiration. Having said that, I think traveling around the world, meeting different kinds of people, knowing their creative process, it sometimes, again, but that's all inside, because those are the memories sitting inside me. So it sometimes creates like a spark that inspires me to paint again. So everything, your memories, your unsaid words, your undone activities, it's all inside of that. Those are the knots, those are the things that you're carrying inside of you. And sometimes when it triggers, you go and create something. Poets are always doing this. There's something that is sitting inside. But you have to keep internalizing, keep watching within what triggers you. There will be a consistency.
So can I call like your process of creating an art piece as a grounding meditation type of exercise?
Somewhat, yes.
Amazing. And tell me something. So you said your inspiration begins with the emotion that's inside you. And you think that the type of emotion that is inside you influences the materials that you choose, the colors that you choose. Have you ever tried to identify, like, if I am sad, I am picking this set of color palette. If I am happy, I'm picking this set of color palette. Have you ever noticed?
Such a lovely question you're asking, because that's exactly, if I were to ask myself, I'm going to ask myself in this way. What happens is, in the whole process, when you let yourself be detached with who you are for a minute and allow the things to just flow naturally, you would see your your strokes, how you move your hand. It is so organic, it is so inside. But just allow, don't govern that, don't channelize it the way you want it. Don't try to make your art beautiful. Do not try to make something to please someone. Just let that be a natural process. That's exactly how I do. My idea is not to please anyone through my art. My idea is, at that moment, I'm feeling my a bold, a very, very powerful instinct coming out of me. You would see a very bold black strokes, which becomes my, the piece which I do not want to further fiddle with. So you want to stay with that moment, because that moment you felt like that. Then there is a feminine side of you when somehow emerges at some point of time. You would see you using a very feminine, where you're sitting nicely, building in a way that looks like you're nurturing a piece on that canvas. So these are small bits and pieces, and every time it's something that I'm having goosebumps talking about it. But when you look at your canvas after a few weeks and months, you know how you moved from one stage to another throughout the canvas. So it's something that stays with me. And then you placing that canvas in, let's say, in a studio, in a gallery, and somebody's asking me, tell me, what is this? Believe me, I pause at that moment, because I cannot say how I transitioned throughout this canvas, how I portrayed a bold side of me versus a child sitting here. Sometimes it looks fake, because that story may look like a storytelling I'm doing to create a canvas, but that's actually true. How do you put that in words? I have done my work with the colors and with the strokes and the patterns. I cannot write words on that the way I'm feeling. You know what I mean? So there's so much of me coming out of just the way I used to feel in last 40 years, 45 years. There are stories, there are people I'm thinking when I'm making something, and that person stays with that stroke, that shape on the canvas. That person is always there every time I'm looking at that piece.
Wow, Nupur. But you know what? You and your work are not different. It is just you flowing into your work. And I'm trying to box the usual creative process grid that people have. Like whenever there is a painting, they make a rough sketch. They plan what goes where, at least in terms of composition, and they pick a color palette that will go with what they have planned. And that's how people usually work. That is the framework that generally the world follows. But you think your creative process will fit into any thin line of some kind of framework?
No, no, not at all. 100% respect for those people who follow that process. But I have never used even a pencil in my life. So I start with one color, and that is one. I always say this, that I always choose the first color. That's it. The rest of the color is a choice made by the first color. I never ever look at what is the next color. Never plan like 10 boxes do I sit with? No, I just pick one black. And I usually start with a black. Then I want to see which are the other powerful color that can shut the black down. If black is so powerful, let's see what red or the white or the greens does. That's it. And believe me, over a period of time, I realized, and I'm so happy that I'm only done with 3 colors on a large canvas. Earlier, my paintings used to be muddy, murky, and you would see like many colors used to be on a piece of canvas because my mind wasn't that clean. And there is an anecdote that I always build. Remember when you open a tap? Yeah, and you've not stayed at that house for many months, and you open a tap, you would see tap water coming out with a lot of dirt, very inconsistent water flowing, and it takes a lot of time for the water to flow naturally, clean water that you can actually drink and use it for your purpose. That's exactly what the art process is. Allow that murkiness, allow that dirt to stay. Do not plan. If you're planning, you're breaking the real natural cycle of how a creative process should be. Let it be. There are no mistakes. These are learning processes. The moment I build a box with a pencil and I try to fill it, I'm already destroying the process, the natural process. So one should not practice, is what I would suggest. But of course, everybody has their own way of doing it. Just let it flow. See how it goes. That's my process, and I'm going to continue that forever. Maybe with 1 color or 10 colors, I don't know. That's the decision of the canvas.
So emotions lead to what happens on the canvas in your process.
Yes.
Do you think, have you ever noticed a kind of emotion recurring more in your work?
You are really making me think, and I'm very happy about it. Yes. The answer to this question, a lot of time my daughter has given me from her eyes, because I may not be able to see all my canvases in one a frame, because that's not, again, I'm trying to compare, and I do not want to do anything which is not natural. But my daughter has observed a very bold black lines crossing the canvas every time. Unless I have that, I think I don't stop. So whether I do that purposely or not, in my conscious mind, I thought I'm not doing that purposely, but it happens. My paintings are not complete unless there is a black strong line, a perpendicular line, which kind of gives me a sense of balance, I believe. So I don't know what that means, but is that going to stay? I don't know. But, having heard that from my daughter, I wanted to even shut that down, because then I probably will try to put that in my canvases going further. So, well, sometimes, we have to stop analyzing how we are painting, which kind of disturbs or kind of overrules the what you call the bullet points, how an artist should look at your signature style and all. I want to even break those rules. There is no signature style. I might change. Your question, if you ask me, who is Nupur? Well, it has to change every time, because I'm not the same person. I'm evolving. My painting has to change, because I'm not going to be the same person forever. The whole idea is it must change.
Okay, this is making me think. Let me be very frank and ask this question. There are people who do art, who are artists, and that is their bread and butter. Mm-hmm. Right? And this world has a way of selling art and providing that bread and butter to those artists. Your process and you saying that, you don't want to fall into a signature style and you want to explore, it's amazing. But how practical you think it is in this commercial art? Okay, this sounds oxymoron, but yeah, that's the reality. Tell me, how do you fit into that world? Do you want to fit into that world?
I don't know. It can be a very diplomatic answer to this question, but I have to be very, very honest. No, I don't want to fit into that world. Commercially successful is one aspect of of art. Yes, I do want to make money with art, so much so that I don't have to go back to a banking job that can pay my bills. I was still working. I do want to be there for sure. And everybody wants money. I want to buy more art supplies, and therefore there is a need for money always. Having said that, I still want to break the paradigm. The thought that this sells and this doesn't sell. What will sell is when a person sees their story through the story that I'm portraying, it will automatically sell. There is a horoscope of each of my paintings. It has to land where it has to. Yeah. The prices, I still do not understand the value of money, by the way. After living so many decades, I do not understand what is 1,000 dirham versus a 50,000 dirham.
And a banker is saying this.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's and you call it innocence, ignorance, I don't know, but I still do not understand the value of money. It's very stupid to say that, and a lot of people would not understand, but it's as true as the universe is. I do not understand the value of money. So to say that whether my art sells at 1 crore price or let's say a 2,000 dirham, it's immaterial for me. I'll be very happy, but what will I do with that is still a question to me. I will figure that out. But commercially, sorry, your earlier question was it's if it is practical or if it is impractical. Yes, it's not practical. Yeah, because I know a lot of artists, and this is from my experience in South Africa. I used to say such brilliant artists still striving for commercial viability of their art, which is actually true. And I'm really, really grateful that I'm able to say this. It's not practical to say what I'm saying, but this is how I am. This is what the universe has granted me, and this is the grace that I carry. People like me will probably understand what I mean, but I really, really wish with a day when it comes when my art starts selling at crore or plus or whatever that X number is, I must be able to share that wealth with the artists who are not able to afford it. That's the only vision that I think I am drawing myself right now, honestly.
And only to people who have this vision of giving back, that's where money flows. That's I have seen in my life so far, like the little life I have lived. I have seen that people who give back get more.
100%, absolutely true.
And so we were talking about fitting into a framework, right? I want to know how you approach exhibitions, because art exhibitions usually people club their paintings under a theme and they name it and then they put it out there and then they try to get more exposure, and then that's how it goes. Your paintings, every painting is a different story of yours, a piece of your soul going onto the canvas, right? How do you approach when you are getting an opportunity to showcase your work in an exhibition? How do you approach the whole process, like whole exercise?
Wow. And I've gone through that, and it's a very interesting experience that I've had. So when I started, like how you test the water, you definitely would like to go through the ecosystem, how it works. So you wanted to know how this market operates. It's a market, right? There is a supply of art pieces, and then there is a demand of art from the businesses, from the retail, from the households, etc. So I was also trying how this market works. For a couple of months, almost a year, I did go through that process of a show which has a very universal name and where every kind of art is trying to fit into that exhibition. I felt extremely uncomfortable to be able to frame myself and say, well, this fits into this, because that's the beauty of an abstract art. Anybody can fit an abstract art into any of the spaces, correct? I did not want to take the advantage of that. Okay, and I realized it's not working. It's just a kind of a misrepresentation of how art should be. And it was a hodgepodge market, honestly. It is still a hodgepodge market to have a group exhibition with everyone trying to fit in. And you that feeling of, feeling good. Is it real, or is it something that you're just trying to be in the market? Well, I took a call that's not going to work. I need to be able to invest myself and do solo shows. For that, your craft, your art needs to be really good to be able to get an opportunity from the galleries where you can have a solo show. And at the same time, the artist needs to be brave enough to not be hiding on a single easel and put there and believe that your art show is happening, to put all your show, all your paintings in the gallery and allow people to come just by your name. It's a very, very brave attempt. And me being highly introverted person who would not socialize, I wanted to come out of that comfort and started investing in galleries, bigger galleries, like a latest one I did in Bikaner House in New Delhi, which is a very, very prestigious gallery. And I called guests like Sri Jatin Das ji, lot of esteemed artists to stand there and to say yourself and call yourself as an artist. I think it was a very, very brave attempt. And so the approach that I have is do 1 or 2 large solo shows in the gallery, which is very, very picky about artists and the crafts, and also feel good about ultimately that your art is getting displayed there and allowing people to come in and see your art. The conversations are so rich the moment you know that the entire space is yours. You're not maligning with negativity, no toxic. It is your space, your freedom, your time. You're just there with you, your art, and the right people will come in.
Mm. That's nice. And when you mentioned that you are an introvert, I could completely relate to what you're saying. But let's talk about people who are viewing your art. Okay. As you said, you could have painted something with a kind of emotion flowing into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessary that the person who is viewing your art is, getting it, right? There can be different interpretations. There can be no interpretations. Sometimes I'm sure you must have come across people saying that, what is this? Right?
Absolutely.
Have you had, what is your feeling about the whole thing of people having a different perception of what you have done?
It is something that you live with every day. Yeah, and not once, multiple times you will have these opportunities. I would say these are really gifts. Everything that you said is a gift. Somebody not understanding your art is a gift, because idea is not everybody must understand. If everybody would understand, then it's a tall tree in the park where everybody calls a tree a tree. It's a monument. It is not a monument. So the idea is not everybody should understand. And you should give them that freedom to decipher, to interpret, to perceive the art the way they are. Very interesting thought that I had with one of the persons I was sitting and having this very, very organic chat is, when I make an art, I go inside of myself, of my childhood, of everything that has gone through, the pain, the anger, everything, and I put it out on the canvas, like I just said. Now, when Vino is seeing my art, she's not going inside me. Yeah? For me, it's an inside out approach. For you, it's an outside inside approach. You see that? I have put myself out. You have to take yourself in to see that art. If it doesn't make sense to you right now, is because you have a filter. You are using an intellectual way to understand the art. Just shun, just quieten every knowledge, every intelligence that you have. Now see, do you still not see anything? Just quieten yourself. We know too much. There is a lot of knowledge that we have acquired. If you quieten everything, you would see something. If you're not seeing because something is not letting you see, just get yourself inside. You will. The idea is, I'm a storyteller, my story. I'm allowing you to go inside you. And it's not easy to put there and be condemned about the art. Yeah. That's what I said. I'm brave enough to put it out, and I'm asking you to abuse or appreciate, whatever. Don't abuse the art. Get inside your feelings, is all I'm trying to say. Very respectfully. It's just so much about yourself.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And when you said about being an introvert and allowing people to, think whatever they want to think and giving them the freedom, here comes a problem that I face quite often. What do you think is the role of social media in an artist's life these days? These days, underquote.
Absolutely. Social media has got both the aspects, like in everything else. Like it is very, very beneficial. At the same time, it can be extremely draining. Yeah, but can you be out of it? No, you can't be. Yeah, can you be so much into it that you're only focusing on it and not your craft? That's also incorrect, or it's not the right approach. To be able to balance it out, to be there, because you have to be relevant in this market. Also, I feel it's a medium where you're archiving your own story. A lot of these artists, like Joan Mitchell, she's one of my favorite artists. I wish I had more videos where I could hear her. I see a lot of painting, I see a lot of stills, but not having technology where there was a lot of recording of her actually into action. I wish there was more. Now, if I'm going to be an inspiration for someone, they would have too much of me to look at. Maybe 50 years, 100 years down the line, when I'm not there, but I have left something for someone to be inspired of. Somebody who's an Indian, a woman, an abstract artist who wants to follow these 5 things that I call it. Why not? You're archiving your own journey. For me, it's an archival process, social media. It can be useful from commercial angle. Yes, it can be. A lot of my organic sales happens through social media because you're allowing yourself to be seen. You're again letting yourself being watched. Why not? But keep it real is what I'm. Keep it real. Keep it organic. Keep it as real as you are. And the moment you do something else, you know what? Even that is so vivid. You can see if it is not real.
Yeah. So it's more a self-documentation kind
Absolutely.
of approach that you have towards social
That's
media.
the right word. Yes.
Amazing. And what about creator's block? Do you get it?
Oh, all the time. All the time, but it stays for a very short period of time. You know what? Because I think I'm very, very full of life. So I would not let that stay for a longer period of time. It stays, but I think I've still not faced or encountered a real block. I would not undermine how severe it can be. I have not encountered yet. But there are times when you do not want to paint at all. You criticize your own work, and which I do every day. But the block, I don't know how will a block feel, honestly. I don't know how will the block really feel to an artist. It's scary. It's scary, but it has to be real.
I don't think you will get a major creative block anytime, because even that you will express in your paintings.
Oh, wow. I would remember this forever now.
Yeah, because every emotion of yours is being translated on the canvas. So even this would get translated on the canvas. And again, the process will begin there, right?
Yeah. And also, an artist does not only is not only an artist when he's on the canvas or when he's in his studio. An artist lives a life of an artist every day. The way you live, the way you dress, the way you do your food, your platter, your house. Might just stop the creative process of actually using your paint and the palette, but you would be an artist somewhere else. You are practicing being an artist at everything that you do. You might go for a holiday. Isn't that being an artist? Yes, because you were going outside trying to explore. So an artist is a journey where some point of time you create whatever you kind of gather, you bring it out on the canvas.
I think it's a way of life.
It is a way of life, yes.
Rather
100%.
than, it's not a profession.
It is not a profession.
That's who
Very
you
true.
are, and that's how your life is, and that's your way of life. And so amazing to be in that way of life and, experience all these things that comes your way and expressing it on the canvas. But in this journey, I'm sure there has to be learning, there has to be experimentation, and there has to be, evolution in terms of techniques, in terms of using something new or trying out something new? How open are you to learn and try out something totally out of your comfort zone?
Oh, very, very open. Like every day when I start a process, it's like a new life. Yeah. So you're so open that anything that everything I could grab, that becomes my tool. Okay, let me see if I have something here. Can I use this? Yes, let's just try with that. So yeah, it's so interesting because I'm not trying to repeat what I have done, or I I'm not trying to create something beautiful or trying to already create. It's nothing is here. You how do you blank your head? How do you feel? Like, have you ever, yeah, ever experienced you being absolutely void? And with that void where there's no color, there's nothing, absolutely blank, colorless, and you see tons of color on the canvas. It's how do you say that? Like, how do you even visualize this whole scene? It's kind of interesting when I talk about it. So, and that happens when you allow it to happen. There are mistakes that are made, tons of them. There are flaws in everything. There is no technique. The only thing that I do is I don't like this side. I keep flipping my canvas 360 degree, keep saying, and is this something I want to stay with? Is this something that I do not want to stay with? That's it. If I touch that canvas twice or thrice, believe me, it looks like a piece of shit, if I can say that. It looks ugly. You don't want to see that again. It's done. You have to discard that canvas because you've touched it again. And the next time when you touched it, your lat long, where you are had changed. The timing has changed. The whole universe has changed. It will not justify the creative process, is what I feel.
The moment is gone.
It's gone. Yeah. The next energy that you put there, there's a shift. I really believe in all of this. It's a shift. You're not the same person that moment, right? 21st of December, you paint like this. 1st of January, you are two different people. You've changed. Your thought process has changed. How are you going to work on the same canvas again? It's difficult, man. That's what the block I get.
Interesting. You know what is very interesting in this conversation? I have an abstract artist in front of me, and I am someone who is obsessed with geometry. Geometry, symmetry, orderliness. That is like my thing. That is my comfort zone, and I feel very, very comfortable with that. and this, whatever I am hearing from you today, I can understand what you're saying, but I am not sure whether I can ever venture or try. Have you ever ventured or tried doing something symmetrical, geometrical? Have you ever tried that?
You'll be surprised, Vino. In life, I am a very, like I said, numbers. So I'm very, high on governance. Can't call it an OCD, but I'm a very, very disciplined that ways. For me, a straight line means a straight line here. Which again is like, wow, my straight line is not straight line when I do it on the canvas. Who am I? Like, how many personalities are sitting inside me? But in life, I'm extremely paranoid about things. The shapes, I love all of that. But then it's not that there. Then what is it? Is it something that I've acquired as a trait? Or is it what society has made me believe of this is how I am? Because this is what I've learned from my family. But this is how I was supposed to be. That's a question I ask. Like, is it my parenting? Is it my values that I've acquired? Maybe this is not what I am. Maybe this is what I have learned from the atmosphere, from the environment where I grew up. But I actually was a free soul. Society made me a boxed person. Society told me this is a straight line. Maybe this is not how I'm supposed to be. How about blending it together and see what magic it can create?
And I'm so glad that you were able to explore the other side as well. There are people who stick to what they have been conditioned to and live their whole life in the same way, right?
Yeah, a lot of people do that. But that's what I like it. I'm trying to come out of it.
Amazing.
Now, when I say that I'm trying, am I really trying, or was that already there for me? I'm just on my path. And I'm just taking all of this with a lot of grace, with a lot of responsibility of what has been offered to me. Maybe it was already there. It took me a little longer to be there,
Get there.
or maybe I don't know where do I have to go. I don't have any of the answers. I am where I am today, and I'm enjoying today sitting with you as an artist. That's it.
Amazing. And let's talk about another practical aspect before we wind up. Being an artist, a woman artist, an abstract woman artist, sounds a little tough to me with the little knowledge that I have about the art world. Can you just throw some light on being all these in the art world?
I need to throw a lot of light to this.
Yes,
and the
please.
global, the whole ecosystem that we have today. The 5 things that I believe: first, an Indian, a woman, abstract artists, large, very large art pieces, and bold, extremely bold strokes. Now, this combination that I'm talking about, it's still very rare. Why? Question is, why are Indian artists, contemporary artists, not at the global, a stage where there are so many artists from the West, from Europe, etc., are having a good name? Why are Indians not there yet? At the same length and the breadth that we're talking about. Women. You Google today 10 contemporary artists, top 10, without saying male or female, you wouldn't see a woman artist showing up there. Indian. Sorry, we talked about Indian women, abstract artists. So a lot of times I hear this comment coming out, especially when I do shows in India. This art piece doesn't look like a woman has done this. That's a very strong statement, and I had thought about it. A lot of times I reflect. That's a strong statement to make. Why? Why can't a woman do an abstract artist? And then the sizes. It is always believed that a woman will probably do a small piece, because the idea is you're taking the art out of you, but you do not have the strength or the courage to do a bigger piece. Why? Maybe one, because you're not probably a financially independent person, so there is a lot of cost involved. You cannot fight out that battle of actually meeting the ends of producing art. I understand that. But why not? Why can't a woman be an abstract artist from India at a global international platform, playing with the bolder strokes, as bold as it can get? So that's a very rare thing. And when I meet youngsters today, when I go out and display, I love the way they say, I wish I could do this. Why not? You can. If I can, coming from a very small state and coming from a family which was not into art, which probably had its own disciplined way of doing things, a doctor, engineer, a lawyer, etc., I'm able to do that. I'm sure everybody can. Trust me, everybody can. You just have to ask yourself, why not?
Are there any common factors that is like kind of stopping this to happen?
I think that's with every industry, not just with art. It's everywhere. There is still a transition that has to happen. The acceptability is still not there. I don't know, maybe people have not asked that question. A lot of women artists are there. A lot of Indian contemporary artists are women. I really admire them a lot. But it is taking time. Very handful. Why? My question is why? And why are you not coming out of the realism, the art which is seen by naked eyes? Come out of that. Ask, why do you fear yourself expressing from who you are? When Amrita Sher-Gil did what she did, she became a huge name. Yeah, she had a very strong, solid background for what she did. Why are not more Amrita Sher-Gils?
Can you explain what she did for our viewers?
She painted herself like how we had Frida Kahlo. She was the Frida Kahlo of India. She did experiment with so many of her self-expressions of how women had to be represented. She traveled from Western world to India, trying to understand how women should be portrayed. She died very early, but the way she did art was unparalleled. And we need to have more such examples today. Of course, there are many whom I really admire and I see today, and they're doing beautiful work. But again, very few. We need more women artists, because creativity is a natural process of a female. of very feminine side, well, we are trying to shut that down. Allow them. It has to be more Indian artists coming out on that global platform, I feel.
Very, very well said. And thank you so much, Nupur. It was such a soulful conversation, and I was able to relate to many things. Frankly, I see another Vino sitting there and talking to me. We aligned in many levels, and thank you so much for coming.
I think I must thank you, because to have this conversation on art, I come with a very, very clean slate to learn myself. You've allowed me to, again, demystify bits and pieces of myself through you. Lovely questions, and I'm so glad you're doing this. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you
I'm really,
so
really
much.
grateful.